Friends, here I am in lovely Whistler, British Columbia, and I thought I'd share some thoughts with you on coaching with this lovely natural backdrop of mountains and trees. And today's topic is coaching BS or fluff? What coaching is and what it isn't. The other day, a longtime friend told me that he considers coaching BS and called it fluff. In other words, insubstantial. I appreciated the honesty, even if I disagreed with the opinion. It also prompted me to make this video so I, as an executive coach, could better explain to you what coaching is and what it isn't. Look, I get that it can be difficult for someone trained in the hard sciences who has lived all their life in a quantitative world to understand how such a seemingly vague job as coaching could have any value or impact. I also taught hard subjects such as fluid mechanics and heat transfer as a professor of engineering for about 25 years. So when I say coaching does add value and has tremendous impact, I hope it will incline you to be a bit thoughtful about this and ponder why. So let's first start by considering the question, what is coaching? Coaching is a growth and change process. It involves figuring out what's going on at any point in your life, what is at stake, and what the next steps to take are. Often the analogy of a trip or a journey is used to describe coaching. If you have complete clarity about what you want, then in the analogy of the trip, you know where you want to go. In other words, the destination is clear. Now, you need to know the terrain and chart out a route to your destination from where you currently are. For that, you need to have clear visibility of the terrain and you need to be able to see the path clearly. Finally, you need to know what essentials you will need for the trip and then actually set out on the path. You also need to maintain motivation and energy for the journey and make sure you get to your destination. These are minimal requirements, and as we set about putting these in place, we often find that there's more work that needs to be done to get to this point. Your coach is your thought partner and collaborator on this journey, although you do all the heavy lifting. This naturally brings us to a clear understanding of who needs coaching and who doesn't. Listening to all this, you may well think, why should anyone choose coaching? If you are already incredibly smart and you're going to do all the work anyway, why do you need coaching? What purpose does a coach serve? In my opinion, these are important questions for any coach to answer and for prospective clients to have good clarity about before you choose coaching. The truth is that if you can do all the things I mentioned earlier, and if you can do them on your own, namely, always have perfect clarity in knowing what you want, also knowing what you need, and then knowing what constitutes the right balance in your life in that moment. If you know your immediate and long-term purpose, you know where your passion lies, and if you can align your energy and passion with your purpose, eliminate any limiting behaviors and internal blockages, know the environment you operate in, etc., then you don't need coaching. But in reality, the truth is that all of us can use coaching at different points in our life. Let me explain why. You can see that having clarity is a recurrent theme in this process. Symptoms of a lack of clarity are feeling stuck, feeling bored, or feeling unsure. These can be experiences that lead you to coaching, and they are called coaching triggers. It could also be a sense of dissatisfaction or a sense of discomfort or unease that comes up in your career. Sometimes coaching triggers involve someone else at your workplace, typically a boss or a manager, telling you that you need to get coaching. Why is it difficult to get the kind of clarity that coaching provides? The reasons are as follows. It is difficult for any one person to have a complete 360-degree perspective. We all have blind spots. Just as when you're driving a car, you know that there's a blind spot that your rear view and side view mirrors cannot cover. Now, the nature of our individual experience and our individual perception of the world is that it is limited. It is extremely difficult for one individual to see the full truth in any situation. But someone with a different perspective can help us gain the extra perspective that we need. Sometimes the truth in these blind spots is difficult for us to swallow because they lie in what I call the shadow of the ego. Let me explain this concept that I've proposed. The ego that protects us and defends us against the world casts a shadow on our perception of ourself. And that's where the blind spots lie. Shining a light in those uncomfortable spaces is where the hard work of self-unfoldment lies. This is why we don't always have full clarity. Now, zooming up to a high level together with a coach can help you see it. Coaching is all about that change of perspective. Another reason for a lack of clarity may be because you do not know exactly what you want. It is important to distinguish between what you think you want and what you really want. Let me give you an example. For instance, you may think you want to be a manager or a director or a VP, but maybe what you really want is more compensation or the prestige of a title. You may not really want the responsibility that the position requires. Guided self-reflection through coaching is a good way to get this clarity. There is also a difference between what you want and what you need. Obviously, it's more important to address needs first before addressing wants. Maybe what you need is time at home to build a better relationship with your partner and your kids, while what you want is a promotion at work. The best coaches coach the whole person. So the change of perspective I mentioned earlier considers the balance between various aspects of your life along with the alignment of your career needs and wants. This process of guided self-reflection in coaching builds alignment with your career goals while maintaining the balance between work and other aspects of your life. While many folks may need coaching, not everyone is ready for it or may benefit from it. Therefore, often coaches provide prospective clients with a questionnaire on the basis of which they can assess the coachability of the respondent. The best coach in the world cannot effect even the slightest transformation if the client is not ready and willing to change. Even if you know what your destination is, the paths to getting there may not be clear. Oftentimes, we are not fully self-aware of our internal limiting beliefs and behaviors that have become a habit. Finally, even if you know the destination and can see the path to getting there, there are aspects of the terrain that you may not be aware of. No one operates in a vacuum. So the environment in which you operate, your organization structure and culture can pose special challenges. It's also necessary to ensure that your energy is fully aligned with your destination or goal along the best path to get there. You may need to explore options in a dynamic environment, and you may need additional resources to upskill for the journey. Finally, you may need an accountability partner and someone to keep your motivation up throughout the journey. For all these reasons, a good coach is indispensable. Now, for someone who's ready to start coaching, it's important to recognize two broadly different approaches to coaching. One involves deep, meaningful transformational coaching, and the other is superficial coaching. Both have their place. Laser coaching, which is a very short half-hour coaching engagement, sometimes involves getting one clarity and one breakthrough. It also looks really impressive in videos about coaching, and many coaches use it to advertise their skills. While getting some quick wins is important in any engagement, the truth is that real transformation takes time. Sometimes it takes 6 to 9 months of weekly coaching sessions, and sometimes it could even take longer. Using the analogy of an undersea diving expedition, the deeper you go into yourself, the greater the possibility of lasting change and empowerment. In such circumstances, the first few coaching engagements may not seem to be moving the needle at all in terms of your behavioral change or outputs. But if you're patient, you can reap good benefits from deep transformational coaching. On the other hand, if you're impatient, then such a coaching approach may not meet your expectations. Sometimes clients come in thinking that the coach should know everything about their organization, their line of work, and that the coach is going to tell them exactly what to do. This doesn't always work that well in a coaching engagement and can narrow down your list of coaches, potentially shutting out exceptional coaches who could empower you greatly. Coaching is not mentoring. In mentoring, you follow someone who reached the same goal that you seek to attain. You know that this person has found one path to get there. They walked that path before, so you know there is a way. This inspires confidence in you that you can get there too, and you may want to mimic their path. Let's say you want to be a partner in your firm or a C-suite executive, and you may think that getting time with a partner or a C-suite executive will help you. It certainly could, but you may be assuming that your path to the same shared goal will be exactly the same as the path your mentor took. That is almost never the case. This can lead to disappointment and disenchantment with mentors. Your mentor may have had some unique privileges based on their circumstances at the time that they took the steps to reach their goal. Times have now changed, and your path could be very different. Undoubtedly, you can learn a lot from a mentoring relationship, but mentoring is not coaching unless your mentor is specially trained in coaching methodology. Coaching fundamentally empowers you in ways that mentoring may not. As I already mentioned, coaching helps you find your goal, your path, and navigate the terrain using your own skills. Coaching is also not consulting. If you're looking for someone to tell you what to do, you might need a consultant and not a coach. Consulting requires a fair amount of domain expertise. A consultant shares their skills and technical expertise in an area where you lack skills or expertise. But that's not where a coach's strength really lies. If your coach has domain expertise in your area of need, then they may put on a consultant hat for a part of the coaching engagement. But typically, coaches are not consultants, and consultants are not coaches. Coaches who treat coaching as consulting can seem very commanding and attractive and effective as they confidently direct you because they may seem very clear about getting you to where you think you want to go. But keep in mind that one, it may not be really where you needed to go or where you wanted to go in the first place. And two, if you're going to ask someone what to do at every stage in your life, you're not being empowered. Exceptional coaches take the time it needs for you to gain clarity. Upskilling is an important part of life, but it is good if you know the difference between upskilling and real growth through coaching. Consulting works well for very specific short-term needs, but if you're lacking clarity, which is often the case, then consulting may leave you feeling dissatisfied in the long run. Coaching is also not therapy. By therapy here, I mean modern psychotherapy in the Western context. Therapists can do great work and be a tremendous help when needed. Their training and licensing procedures are very different from that of coaches. Therapists typically deal with pathological mental conditions, although they can also help with life issues and milder mental health issues. Typically, someone may seek therapy if they feel their mental health is impairing their ability to function at work and home, although that is changing, and there is an increasing awareness that mental health is an aspect of well-being. Because of the association of mental illness with dysfunctionality and abnormal behavior, there has been a lot of stigma associated with mental health issues and going to see a therapist. I like to use an integer scale to compare therapy and coaching. Suppose you imagine an axis which is labeled by the integers. Then therapy takes folks from a -1 to 0, from a dysfunctional pathological state to a state of functional survival. Coaching, on the other hand, takes you from 0 to +1 or even to infinity, depending on how far you want to go. It takes you from just surviving to thriving. Executive coaches take highly functioning professionals and help them thrive. Nick Wignall, a respected psychologist, noted 3 characteristics of exceptional coaches: clarity, empathy, and courage. Nick makes the excellent point that having clarity for oneself in one situation is different from having the skill to nudge your client towards gaining that clarity for themselves. Genuine empathy and not judging the client is, of course, very important too. Without an empathetic coach, the client can feel lost, disconnected, or even judged. As Nick points out, empathy alone is not enough. Empathy just sets the stage for building trust, from where the growth and change journey can begin. While being supportive is an important coaching function, your coach must also ask powerful and challenging questions to move you out of your comfort zone into the learning zone. This takes courage on the part of your coach. This is Nick's 3rd characteristic of exceptional coaching. Why is it important for a coach to be courageous enough to challenge the client in appropriate ways, even if it risks disagreement? It's because it's easy to stay in one's comfort zone, but to push one's boundaries and lean into discomfort is hard. If the goal is worthy, then that discomfort is worthwhile. Great things are not accomplished without effort, and the path of learning and growth lies in the forest of discomfort. While Nick's article on the 3 characteristics of exceptional coaches is a great analysis, I feel there is even more to coaching. Beyond clarity, empathy, and courage, coaching is about encouraging alignment and balance and all the additional details I mentioned earlier. If you're considering coaching or you've heard about it and are curious to learn more, there's a lot of options out there. If you're interested in learning about what coaching with me looks like, I encourage you to look at other videos on this channel. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my reflections on coaching, what it is and what it isn't, and hopefully it made you ponder whether it's true that coaching is BS and fluff, or if it's something more than that.